Hello everyone, I am Piyush Vairade, your course instructor for DBMS course. Now in this particular video, we are going to discuss how to create a tables and what are the different data types and constraints we have in SQL. Okay, so the focus will be more on the content which is given in our syllabus, but I will suggest you some resources so that you can explore more about this particular topic. Okay, so let's go to a PG admin now. I hope everyone has installed the pgadmin and loaded the databases. Okay. So here you can see I am using the PostgreSQL version 14. You can use any version above 14. Okay. And here you can see I have a different database already created. But if you want to create a new database, what you have to do? You have to simply right click on the databases. Then we have create. Then we have database. Okay. And you have to give a name. For example, I am giving so I will just mention SQL IITM. Okay. So this is my database name SQL IITM. It depends on you. You can give any name and then simply just click on the save button. That's it. So here you can see on the left hand side, you can see the database by name SQL IITM has been created. Okay. Now we want to use this particular database. How to do that? Simply right click on that particular database name and here you can see query tool. Okay. So you can simply go to query tool and here you can see your interface. So here we can write the query. This is the run button. Okay. And here you can see the output. Now the syntax for creating a table. Okay. So how to create a table? So first we need to write create command, create. Then we have to specify what I want to create, that is table. So create table. Then we have to specify the table name. Whatever the table name we want to give, we have to mention here table name, and then in bracket we have to specify the attributes. So database consists of various tables which are linked to each other, and the table consists of rows and columns. Okay, and here attribute means columns name. Okay, so when I am saying attribute, it means the column name of a particular table. So here we need to specify the column name along with its data type and constraint. Okay, so here you have to specify the column name. For example, column 1, then you have to specify the data type of that data type, and then you have to specify the constraint. Okay, so constraint is the optional part, but you have to specify the data type for each column. Okay, so we are going to discuss what are different data types and constraint. So this we have to follow for every columns, or I can say attribute. If I do this, so here I can see I have three attributes. So this is, so here I have three attributes, that is column 2, column 3, like this. Okay, and it's having data types and constraint. So constraint is the optional part. So the mandatory part for creating a table is what column name should be there along with its data type. Okay, so let's try to discuss first different types of data type, and then we are going to use this particular syntax. So I can say this is a syntax for creating a table. Simply create table, and then you have to specify the column name along with this data type and constraint. Okay, so what are the different data types we have? Now I am only going to focus on the data types that is mentioned in our course. Okay, there are other data types also, you can explore about that. I will give you the link for that and you can explore that. Okay, but for this particular tutorial I am going to focus on the course content part. The first one is char. Okay, so we have a char data type having size n. Second one is that varchar, variable character having length n. Then we have a date data type, and then we have a integer data type int, and then we have a boolean data type that is basically either true or false. Okay, so these are the few different data types we generally use: char, varchar, date, and integer. Okay, and there are different data types also. It depends on our use cases which we want to use. So for that you can go to a PostgreSQL documentation. Okay, but as of now we are going to focus on this particular 5 data types. Now we have a different constraint here. What are the different types of constraints? So first one is we have a not null constraint. Second we have what? Unique constraint, I can say unique. Third one is what we have check constraint. Okay. Fourth one, we have a primary key constraint. I hope you understand what is primary key, what is foreign key. Okay. So these are the few types of constraint we have: not null, unique, check, primary key, and then we have foreign key constraint. Okay, foreign key. So we are going to focus on this particular things. We have other type of constraint that you can explore. Okay, but these are the important data types and constraint. And please remember this: these constraint and data types are not a case sensitive, so you don't need to use in capital letters. Okay, I have just done like this. Okay, I have just used to for demonstration purpose, right? So you can use in lowercase as well. Now, how to create a table? We know different data types we have different constraints. So how to use those things for creation of a table? So let's discuss one by one. So first I am going to create a table student. So create table student. I am going to create a table student just having some attribute. Let's say for example, roll number is an attribute here, roll number. And roll number can take alphanumeric value. So for that purpose, I will use varchar. Okay, varchar, and let's say size for this particular varchar is 10, and the constraint I am using, that is basically a primary key. Okay, primary key here. Now next will be what? Name. Okay, and I am going to use a char here just for this particular tutorial purpose. I am going to use all the data types and constraint in a single table so that I can explain each one of this. Okay, so here name is for characters, that is basically what? 10, right? And then I am saying that this particular name is having unique constraint. Okay, then we have a date of birth. Date of birth will have a data type as date, that should be a not null, so we are giving a not null constraint to date of birth. Age, having data type integer, right? And let's say this is also not null constraint. Okay, then I am creating one more column, that is active. So whether student is active in the course or not. So for that purpose, I will use Boolean data type, because this is what a categorical column. Either student can be active or not active. So either yes or no, or true or false. Okay, so this much I want. So that's why I'm using simply Boolean data type here. Okay, so char can take string values. Varchar also can take a string value up to size n. But the difference between char and varchar is what? The storage is fixed. In the case of char, here storage is fixed. Storage is fixed for storage is fixed for n size. But here we have a variable storage. Here we have a variable storage. Okay, that's the difference between char and varchar. Okay, date data type is used. Suppose if I want to use a date in any one of the column, for example, date of birth, date of joining, like this. So in that case, we use date data type. So it will follow. It can follow both the formats, that is DD, MM, YYY format, or YYY, MM, MM, DD format. So it depends on the database that we are using and the version of the database. So either of the date format will be used for date data type. Okay, integer as usual, it can take any integer value. So I can take integer value, and boolean is basically what? Simply it can take either true or false, or yes or no, like those values. Okay, so this is about the data types. Now we have create a table student having roll number, having constraint primary key, data type varchar, name character data type, unique constraint, date of birth having date data type, not null constraint, age is having integer data type, not null constraint, and we have active, that is boolean data type. So I hope we have covered all the data types, and constraint also I have covered except the foreign key. Okay, so foreign key I am going to discuss, but let us discuss this particular thing first. Now what I am doing, adding one more constraint, that is check. Okay, so check here, check. Now what is the use of check constraint? Check will evaluate the condition. If I just put check and some attribute name, or I can say column name, or some a condition, So unless this particular condition is true, we cannot execute. For example, I am saying that age should be greater than 18. Okay, so what will happen if I try to insert a record in this particular student table? If I insert a record of a student having age less than 18, it will throw an error. It will not allow us to insert a record of any student whose age is less than 18. Okay, or 18 I can say. So this is what this particular check constraint will help us, right? So this is how we can use this check constraint. Now let's select this particular query. So once you have written the query or SQL command, what you have to do, you have to click on this run button, execute button. So if you just click on here, you can see create table query written successfully. So I have successfully created the table here. If you want to see the table has been created or not, so what you can do, on the left hand side here you can see the database name. You can scroll down, you can see the schemas here. In the schemas, you can see a public here, and after that, just scroll down. Here you can see a tables. And inside the tables, you can see a student having different columns that we have created. So students table is present inside this particular database, that is SQL IITM. Now, if you want to view a data from the student table, or what we can do, so simply we have to write a command, select star from student, right? That's it. If I simply select this, select star from student, I will get all the data from the student table. But as of now, I just have a structure. I just have a empty table here. I don't have a rows in this particular table. Okay. And here we have used asterisk symbol. Asterisk means what? All the columns present in the student table. Okay. And select. So if you want to view a data of any table, so what we have to do? We have to use select command. Then we have to specify the attribute which we want to get. Okay, and suppose if I want all the attribute, then I will use asterisk symbol here. Okay, then from which table I want to view a data, that we have to specify the table name here. So we are going to discuss this thing in detail, but let us discuss this particular concept first. So I hope you understand how to view a data from a particular table. Simply select star from that particular table name. That's it. Now here I got the empty table here. Now I want to insert a row, or I can say record, in this particular table. So what I have to do, I have to write an insert command here. Insert, you have to write insert into. I want to insert a record, but in which table? I have to specify the table name here. So insert into student. Okay, so insert into student, but what? I want to insert the values, that is values, and then we have to specify the values. If I just specify a student table like this, then whatever the values you are going to specify inside this particular bracket, that should be in this particular order. Okay, I will give you one example also. So let's say I want to insert a record. So let's say, for example, I am having a roll number. Okay, so let's say 21 F1 2. So this is the roll number. But here we have a varchar data type, so we have to use the single quotation for inserting a record in varchar and char. Okay, so here I have a roll number, that is basically a varchar data type. Okay, now next is what? I have a name. I am saying say Raj, for example. That is also inside the quotation because it is having character data type. Then we have date of birth. Date of birth, say for example 01, 01, say 2000. Okay, this is the date of birth. And then say age will be what? 24. So here you can see age is having integer data type, so I don't need to use a quotation here. I can simply use the numbers or integers directly. I don't need to specify the quotation here, right? So I don't need to put the numbers inside the quotation. So this is only for varchar, char and date data type. We have to use the quotation. Otherwise, for integer data type, we can simply use the number. Okay, this is about the age. And what is active? Active is what? That is basically true. Okay, so true. Now if I just simply select this particular query, let's try to run this. Here you can see insert 01. So I have successfully inserted this particular query. Now if you want to see whether I have inserted the query correctly or not, if you want to see a data, so again go back to this particular query, simply select that and hit the run button. So here you can see we have successfully inserted the row inside this particular table. Okay, so this is how we can insert a record into a particular table. So this is how we can create a table, and this is how we can insert a record into this particular table. Now let's discuss a data type one by one first. Now what I have specified here, varchar 10. So but here you can see I have 5 characters, right? What if I put more than 10 characters? Let's see. So we have 5 already, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, and let's say Raj, I will make Rajesh for example. And now let's try to insert this particular query. Now see what happened. Now if I run this particular query, here you can see we got the error that value too long for type character varying 10, because it is having more than 10 integers, so it will not trim it. Okay, it is not going to trim that extra part. Simply it will throw an error that this particular value is too long for character data type, so we cannot insert. So that's why this particular data type is very important. Okay, it will help you to maintain the integrity of this particular table. So I cannot insert any value having more than this particular size. Okay, this is about the varchar data type. Similarly, I can say for Rajesh also, if I just specify how many characters we have, 6. Let's say for example, I will add 5 more characters. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I am removing here because I want to discuss the char. So I hope you understand what is varchar. We can insert a record into a table, that is a string data type, but up to 10 size. Same thing, char also, if I try to insert this particular record, it will throw a same error that the value too long for the type character 10. Okay, so we cannot insert a value having a size more than this particular size limit. Okay, so this is how we can restrict our table by inserting a incorrect data. I hope you understand the difference between, I hope you understand what is varchar and char. Okay. Now what about date data type? So date we already discussed. This particular thing, integer we already discussed. Boolean is either true or false. So if I see a table here again, so here you can see either true or false. Now let's try to do one more thing. I will not insert true. I will just say any random thing inside the quotation. Let's see anything. Now can I insert this value? Let's see. So see input. So here you can see invalid input syntax for Boolean type. Okay, so we have to use either true or false in this case of Boolean. Okay, I hope you understand what are the different data types we have and how we are going to use those data types for creation of a table and how it works. Okay, now let's try to insert one more record here. Let's say 21F13 Rajesh, name, date of birth I will change, say for example 2004, age say for example 20, and say student is not active, say for example false. Now if I try to insert this query, what is going to happen? I successfully inserted. Now let's go back to our student table here. Simply select that query and hit a run button, and here you can see I have successfully inserted. Now if you observe, both varchar and char is having the same size, but what's the difference? I have specified here that the difference is between the storage, right? So storage is fixed for n size, but in the case of varchar, it is having variable storage. Now what is this? See, if I copy this particular thing and paste it here, you can see there are 5 characters inside the double quotation. But if I copy this particular name and paste it here, now what you can see, what you can observe here, let's put in this particular way. So here also I got the Raj, but you can see this particular thing, double quotation, we have an empty space here. After that we have a quotation. It means that the storage for this particular column is fixed. It can take up to 10 characters. But even if I insert a character less than 10, for example only 3 characters, the remaining characters will get filled by empty space here. Okay, that's what I am saying. We have a variable storage in the case of this particular varchar, and here the storage is fixed because even if you enter the value less than that particular number, it will get filled by empty spaces. So if I just simply click here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, there are 7 empty spaces and 3 characters, that is what, a 10. I hope you understand the difference between char and varchar. So this is the only difference between char and varchar. So you may think that why we required 2 data types, right? We can simply use varchar, right, to use the storage efficiently. But for example, we have a column name which use the fixed characters. For example, Aadhaar number, PAN card, passport number. These are having the fixed characters, right? So in that case, we can go for a char data type. Okay. So I hope you understand the difference between char and varchar and all the data types I have discussed. Okay. Now let's discuss about the constraint part. So first is what? Primary key. So when I say primary key, it means that it is having not null plus unique constraint. Not null plus unique constraint. Okay. So before discussing primary key, we should know what is not null and unique constraint. Okay. So let's take the same thing, same table here. Now here you can see table is having unique and date is having not null. So what I am going to do, now let's try to insert the same record again and see what happens. If I simply run this query, here you can see we got the error that duplicate key violates unique constraint, student primary key. Student key means primary key. So roll number already exists, right? So this means that this particular roll number already exists. I cannot insert a record into a table having the same roll number. This is what this primary key constraint is doing, because primary key constraint is having unique as well as not null. So all the values inside this roll number must be unique. Okay, there should not be any repetition, and also it should not be null. Null means there should be some value for that particular field. I hope you understand the primary key concept, not null and unique. Okay, so let's try to change this roll number to 14 now, and let's see what happens now. Now in this case we got the error, but here you can see a detail. So here you can see name is getting violated. That is basically what? Unique constraint. So if you observe for the name we have unique constraint. So I cannot add a student having the same name. Okay. So this is what unique constraint will do. Restrict the particular column to insert a duplicate value. Okay. I cannot insert a record of a student having same name because of this particular unique constraint. This is about the unique part. Now what about the date of birth? That is not null. If I simply remove this particular thing, okay, instead of this particular attribute, I'm just adding 4 attributes instead of 5 attributes. Now what will happen in that case? Now if I just simply try to execute this particular thing, here you can see column date of birth is of type date, but expression is of type integer. So it is treating this particular value as date of birth, not age, because it is taking in this particular order, roll number, then name, and they are considering it as date of birth, but that is not true. Then in such cases, how I can insert a record? Suppose I don't have a date of birth of a student. In that case, you can see you have to specify the column name here. So whatever the sequence of a column name you are going to specify along with the table name, in that order you have to put the values. So here I am specifying roll number, then we have a name, then we have a age, and then we have active. Okay, active. Now let's try to insert this record and see what we are getting. Now here also we got the error, but this time error is different. Here you can see null value in column date of birth of relation student violates not null constraint. So they are saying that we are not inserting a value for date of birth. That is not allowed because date of birth should be not null. So there must be some value for this particular column. Right here you can see failing row constraint, this particular thing, right? Null. So null should not be there inside a date of birth. So this is how not null constraint will work. It will ensure that particular column has some value. Okay. So I hope you understand the different types of data type we have and the constraint part. Okay. And let's say for example, I don't want to add the status of a student, that is active, because here we don't mention any constraint here, right? So constraint is optional. So for this particular column, I can insert a null value. So let's discuss that. So instead of age, I will mention date of birth here and I will remove active. Okay. Now let's try to insert 14. Then name will be what? Rajesh. Age will be 20. And let's say instead of false, so it should be date of birth, right? So I'm simply adding the date of birth here, 01 hyphen 04 hyphen 2000 3. Okay, and then I'm adding the age as 21. Now let's try to insert a record here. So we have successfully inserted, and let's see the table. So here you can see a null value because we don't have any constraint to this particular column. So that's why it is allowing us to insert a record without that particular value. So by default, if you have not specified the constraint, it will take the null value. So please make sure about this particular point. Okay. I hope you understand the different types of constraint. Now the last constraint we have, that is basically check. Now what is this check constraint? For example, let's say I'm changing the roll number and name and say date also, for example. Okay. And I am mentioning the age as 16. Now what will happen? Can I insert a record of a student having age less than 16? No. Here you can see new row for relation student violates check constraint student age check. So it is saying that this check constraint is getting violated because the age of a student must be greater than 18. Okay. So this is how the constraint will work. It will prevent the incorrect data to get input in our database. So that's it from this particular tutorial. I hope you understand what are different data types we have and what are the different constraints we have in SQL. We have other types of data types and constraints as well. For that purpose, I will suggest you to go through PostgreSQL documentation. So just go to Google, search about PostgreSQL documentation, and in that you will find all the syntax and everything about this particular data types and constraint. Okay, so you can explore more about PostgreSQL and syntax and SQL command in this particular documentation. Okay, so I hope you understand how to create a table, what are the different data types, and what are the constraints in SQL. Okay, so that's it from this particular video. Thank you.